Let's talk to Vanessa Frake, former prison governor, of course, and author, because a lot of people very concerned about the state of our prisons at the moment. We've got too many foreign prisoners in them. We've got too few spaces. We've got too many criminals and too many people getting released early. So we had Shabana Mahmood from the Labour Party this week talking about crammed prisons are a powder keg that could explode into riots. I don't think she's the only person that said that. Vanessa, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
We seem to talk an awful lot, Vanessa, about the inability of our prison system to handle all the criminals. I've just been reading in the Times today about a sort of epidemic of phone thefts. Hundreds of thousands of phones being stolen on an annual basis. But there's no chance of any of these people who commit these, what you might call, low-level crimes ever going to jail, is there?
Well, I don't know. I seem to be chatting with you on a regular basis, Mike, about the state of our justice system and in particular our prison system. Labour yesterday said that they were going to build 20,000 new prisoner places. They had some wishy-washy thing about how they were going to tackle reoffending. And to be honest, it's pie in the sky numbers, and it's may be all well and good to build 20,000 new prison places, but how are you going to staff it? What are you going to staff it with? Inexperienced staff, and that's not what the prison system needs. It needs experienced staff. It needs focus on reducing reoffending, not focus on locking people up.
Right.
And I think we need to look at more the crimes behind prisoners rather than, in actual fact, just locking them up and thinking a short, sharp shock treatment is going to work, because all the statistics say, well, no, it's not going to work.
Yes. And what's the problem with building new prisons? Is it all about planning? I mean, the Tories apparently pledged to create 20,000 extra places by sort of now, but they've only managed to do about 6,000 more. So presumably they've had difficulty, like you say, in suddenly not just, creating prisons out of nothing, building them, finding staff to staff them, all of that.
Well, indeed. I mean, planning laws, to my mind, are there for a specific reason. I mean, where do you stop with, ignoring planning laws? I'm sure Keir Starmer wouldn't have a prison built behind his house. I think it's important that, I know one of the, I think it's one of the Wellingborough prisons it took something like 3 years for planning permission to get through. And yes, that is a long time, but whatever method you use, it is not going to be an overnight fix, building new prison places.
No, quite. And I mean, as you say, one of the things, I was asked this question at the weekend, actually, what's the, the sort of recidivism rate of people coming out of prison? And I think it's pretty high, isn't it? Because people come out of prison, not really changed. They don't really somehow have new qualifications. They're not prepared for living a life without crime. And they just go straight back to what they were doing before.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we don't focus on reducing reoffending enough. We let people out who have no job, sometimes have no home. We know these contribute to crime. So it's what as a society we want. But don't forget, these 20,000 prisoner places Labour has promised is going to cost you and I, the taxpayer, £50,000 for each place per year.
Yes, and that is a massive problem, isn't it? And I've asked you this question before, the foreign prisoner intake, I think there's 88,000, generally speaking, in England and Wales. About 12,000 of those, I think, are foreign. Could we not just deport all of them?
Absolutely. They are chopping up our prisons, because what happens is when they go to an immigration centre like Yarborough or whatever, if they're badly behaved and the immigration centre can't cope with them, they come into prison. So, sometimes they're there 2 years before, and the only person that's making money out of it is solicitors.
Yes.
Because, they have appeal after appeal after appeal not to be returned from whence they came.
No.
If somebody came up with the magic way to get rid of them, instantly we'd have 12,000 places.
Yes. And that would solve quite a lot of problems overnight, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, of course it would.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, here we are in a manifesto scenario. I wonder when one of these parties might actually put something like that in a manifesto, because it would seem to be the right thing to do.
Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? But it's unfortunately prisons and talking about spending money on reducing reoffending isn't a vote winner. So every single party wants to be the party of law and order, and lock people
Right.
away. And at some stage they will realise that in order to do that, we need to decide who we're locking away, what we're locking them away for, and how long for.
Yeah.
And focus on more on reducing reoffending than
Yes.
than locking up.
Absolutely. Good to talk to you. Thank you, Vanessa, very much indeed. Vanessa Frake, the former prison governor and author.